Good evening, everyone. This is Anika Sharma. I'll be your moderator for today's conference, and I welcome you to this first virtual roundtable conference on ADR and Vanishing Trail, organized by Amicus Curiae. Amicus Curiae is a brainchild of several legal luminaries and eminent personalities across the country. We have a dream that proliferate legal knowledge to even the most
Slide
to the
slide
deepest of the
2G,
point.
2G and 4.
Sorry, sir.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. So we have this aim to proliferate legal knowledge and provide an ingenious understanding of several legal fields to various students. And now we are a MSME recognized by Government of India. So this is what Amicus Curiae does for the knowledge of who do not know what we actually are. Further, we have three major legal luminaries with us. Uh, our chief guest, former Chief Justice K.G. Balakrishnan, uh, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, Pradeep Rai, and Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, Aruneshwar sir. So now we are here to discuss about ADR and its vanishing trail. And I hope you all might be knowing about what ADR is, its status in India today. But for those who are in the first year or who are just joining this conference for some knowledge, I'll introduce to you the topic in brief. So ADR is external dispute resolution mechanism denotes a wide range of dispute resolution processes and techniques that act as a means for disagreeing parties to come to an agreement without any litigation. In the courts, it's a litigation, but not through courts. So the major aim when ADR was introduced in India was to reduce the burden of courts or to avoid the cumbersome procedures or the hefty cost that you have to pay for the litigations in the court. These were the major aims. But ADR does not seem to succeed it eh, the way it presented or the way it wanted it to be. What happened is people still believe more in the court system than in the ADR. The judges, the decision of judge and the judgment made by the judge in the court, they have a traditional understanding of the legal system. And secondly, the lack of legislation. We have just one legislation, that is Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, to govern the arbitration, but that's not because of which the people cannot trust or do not know much about arbitration. We do not have a proper legal infrastructure. That what some problem exists. And lastly, what happens is arbitral awards are very easily overruled by the courts. There are some injunctions, but arbitral awards are many a times overruled by the courts, and that's why people do not wish to go for ADR and it's vanishing. So this is what a brief about the topic that we are going to discuss today. And we have our first speaker, Mr. Pradeep Rai. He is a senior advocate practicing in Supreme Court since last 22 years and is still continuing. He is recently Vice President of Supreme Court Bar Association and an additional Advocate General for the state of Uttarakhand and Special Counsel for Union of India and the state of Uttar Pradesh. He is the president of Society for Human Rights and Civil Liberties, the founder of the nation's only independent legal magazine, Indian Legal Magazine, National News Channel APN News, and he served as the vice chairman of National Anti-Doping Agency. He is well proficient in civil litigation, criminal litigation, revenue matters, and constitutional law. He further has an experience of journalism as well, and a combination of law and journalism is always exotic. So here we have Sir to enlighten us and give us certain interesting insights about ADR and its impact and growth on the Indian legal system. So please.
Thank you for thank you for inviting me. Amicus Curiae, I'm congratulating you for organizing such programs, especially in this difficult times when people are meeting only virtually. Honorable Justice K.G. Balakrishnan sir, Mr. Aruneshwar Gupta ji, senior advocate, and our elder brother. This subject is very interesting. When we discuss about this subject, then many ideas drop in, because this originally it was an Indian concept, but finally when mythology goes further, it went to the Western hands. Arbitration and mediation is the most appropriate subject, considering the staggering number of cases that the judiciary is burdened with. The most, you say, the popular forms of alternative dispute resolution have come to the credible alternative to the system of cases being decided by the courts. There are around 34 million cases. There are in pending before 22,600 subordinate courts in India. 10% of that is in high courts. 60,000 is almost in Supreme Court. I was just going through with the World Justice Report 2019, where this rule of law index that gave India 68th place among 106 nations of an evolution of 8 criteria of civil justice is one of them. So this position, obviously, we will not be happy while having this 68th position in the world rule of law index, and we are a democracy. So despite having this kind of governance, if we are at this position, this is not suitable to our stature. This is not suitable to our name. In India, the solution is possible if there is some authority that owns the problem. It is too serious a matter to be left alone only to the judges. You see, not only arbitration, there are categories of institutional arbitration. There are different centers. We also started, but a bit late. Now the courts are considering these matters. Similarly, the different kind of challenges are there. When originally we talked about the mediation, people used to say that this is not going to work. I said, why? They used to say that, you see, who was the first mediator? The mythological mediator of India, that was Lord Krishna. He wanted to mediate between Kauravas and Pandavas. And what happened? He failed in mediation. So if Lord Krishna himself failed in mediation, this will not be a good idea to have a system that will be functioning to help out the courts. So this kind of mentality was also there initially, but now you see the challenges now lies in accepting mediation as a method of solving disputes among litigants, and it is sort the most important of it. Along with providing right climate, infrastructure, and training of persons, taking a mediation was a vital. You see, recently I requested the new Honorable Chief Justice of India to give some mediation trainings for the younger members. Because you see, we don't find the facilities of proper training. And whenever we proceed further, we want that, yes, there should be some training program. We should learn some new technologies. We learn some new techniques. Then they start doing some training program that works for a few hours in 7-8 days. And after completion of that training, you become mediator. You see, whenever we start a training, there are 3 sects. You can say there are 3 limbs. One is mediation, one is arbitration. So once you are training in mediation, you should not cross the barrier. You should not participate in arbitration. Originally, it was a thought of Honorable Justice Bobde when he decided that first all the matters, civil matters, should be sent to mediation. And thereafter, they should avail the opportunity in arbitration. And thereafter, the matter should be listed before the appropriate court of law. But again, it was a question that it may cause delay, and the largest litigant like NHAI, they also objected. They said that whenever we refer the matter for the arbitration, it takes years. So it was better to file a petition in High Court. Ultimately, they have to come here. So first of all, we have to strengthen our system, which is actually suitable to the create a kind of environment which suits us. You see, all these things that this includes imbibing the legal knowledge, the skills, and a section of mediators can bring in reforms in their one way. As no dispute is same, new thinking is required on the part of mediators. There is also a need to find out new tools for effective mediation. Most of all mediators leave their egos aside, exercise patience, use their persuasive skill, earn the goodwill and confidence of litigants, because this is must. Unless you win the confidence of litigants, sometimes they feel that, yes, normally our lawyers, they are also in bad habit. I have no objection in admitting it before my Lord Justice K.G. Balakrishnan. that many of the lawyers, sometimes when they lose a case, they say, Judge acha nahi tha. They will not say that your case was not good. Because this habit we have to develop. If there is a good lawyer who advises a client, the boss, you will not win this case. You don't have merit, but let me try. Client will leave him. So this entire system is actually working on some kind of false notions sometimes. I don't say that each and every matter is like that. In some cases, like you see, this our mediators, our arbitrators, they also command good knowledge. But there are many bureaucrats who don't have legal background. They are also coming into arbitration. They are deciding the matters. They are participating there. They actually become like a technical member in different tribunals. Like one judicial member is there, he is dictating, technical member is just listening, and thereafter he is trying to learn the basics of the law and what are the things involved, and he learn also. I don't object accommodating people, innocent people, because abroad also there is a concept of jury. In those jury, those persons are not legal luminaries or experts. That is the views of a common man. That is the independent view which should be taken. You see, that legal knowledge is must. But other than this, there is one more criteria which should be dealt, where there should be some accountability. The arbitrators and mediators, if they do something which they should not have done, then there should be some accountability. Absolute trust among the litigants in mediators is must in helping to settle the disputes. Otherwise, they will not talk to you. They will not just open out. Because the job of mediator is just to open up both the parties. They have to just facilitate talking to them. You have to guide them that, yes, this is the right path. You are on the right track. And if you lose this pace, then you may not succeed. Then it may go on further. This dispute may keep on hanging on over you. This happens. So there should be an ethical code for mediators also, just like advocates. We are governed by Advocates Act. Why not there should not be Arbitrators Act? Why not this Mediators Act? Because if you are practicing that area, there should be some code. There should be some guideline which has to be followed. Not only this, the training process that should be done in a large number. It should not be restricted only to few who believe that they are the privileged members. It should go to each and everyone. I think in Supreme Court, after many years, when we were in the committee, around 180 lawyers were accommodated for the training. Now is virtual time. Why can't you do that? But I am happy to announce to all these young boys that now this Honorable Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramanna, he has agreed to grant us training to young lawyers, because I said that we don't want for senior advocates. We don't want for those who are very good in litigation, who don't want to prefer any another branch. So for them, at least there should be something, and he has agreed to train at least 500 lawyers, students also. Because you are a student, you are studying mediation. Somebody came from Harvard after completion of LLM in mediation. And the government of India and our Supreme Court legal authority did not recognize him as a mediator. See, a person who has done 7 days training is mediator, but a person who has completed a course LLM from the Harvard, he is not mediator because he has not obtained training from your system. This is not a good idea, but this system is very good. This concept is very good. It's high time when this mediation is actually taken up as a profession with attractive remuneration, because you can't say that there should be monetary loss also attached if there is a delay in solving the cases, because that will be actually a kind of give a thought to the mediators that if they lose and if they don't do this, the fees will be less. Administration of justice and their method needs a strong second look. Law is said to be one generation behind. The needs of time that the courts are, people say 2 generations behind, and judges are 3. Sometimes, I don't say, because judges, our Supreme Court judges, they reach the Supreme Court at the age of 60. Everybody is not like Honorable Justice Balakrishnan, who keeps himself updated. I have never seen, only I have seen one Chief Justice of India who has never retired. Even after leaving the office, he is participating in a lot of social responsibilities. He is participating in a lot of awareness programs. Similarly, others also do. But if there is some generation gap, that has to be trained. They have to be guided. Like you see, there are virtual courts. There are in different e-courts started, I think, 15 years back. If Mr. Gupta will correct me, Anushwar Gupta ji, because when he was secretary, he also persuaded for this. And it's the first time the virtual court was established when Honorable Justice K.G. Balakrishnan was Chief Justice of India. In that virtual court, many judges took it as a punishment. Many judges who were not trained, they just felt that what should we do? How to proceed further? Sometimes there is a technical hitch. I remember a conference where many of the judges of company law appellate tribunal were participating. I was there, and this idea was thrown by Honorable Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya, that there will be time when judges will be sitting at different places. There will be time when lawyers will be at different places. Client may be at their home, but litigation will go on. And immediately after, when this response was coming, some of them said that it can happen, but at least in next 20 years, there is no possibility. Look at the time. Within 10 months, in the month of March, we started the system in Supreme Court. Unfortunately, I don't like this. It's not a proper court, but this system is started. So what I say that we can't ignore arbitration, mediation, at the same time, the role of courts in strengthening it. You see, all three systems should be strengthened. Like we are limbs of the government. The court is limb of a government. Then the court should also have three limbs: arbitration, mediation, and then litigation. If we straight away accept the litigation, then people will not prefer arbitration. If there are not provisions mentioned in the agreement to arbitrate a matter, if there are not provisions to written in mediation, even then you should refer. Nowadays, mediation job means there are marriage matters. If the parties are at dispute, husband and wife, the mediator sits and they say that, okay, you talk to them. And sometimes whenever the mediation is granted, councils, parties, they all know that it is going to be failed. And on the next hearing, we will go for litigation. This is not a good mentality. If we can settle the issue by way of mediation, why not to do it? We should do it. So what I suggest that arbitration and mediation must become the new mantras for the judicial salvation, and this would help in reducing pendency. Just allocating 5% of money which is spent on judiciary for arbitration and mediation, that will benefit the common man, people enormously. Like artificial intelligence would be extremely beneficial and influence to all the spheres of life, and obviously dispute resolution is one of them. Technology would become the driving force behind all the institution and the administration of justice. It would need a new category of judges who are well versed in the technology domain. There is a need for more institutional arbitration in India, and the time arrived for arbitration and mediation. The time has come. One of the main privileges of market economy is an opportunity to choose in order to choose the right place of dispute resolution. Because sometimes you choose some arbitration council where you can't get matters decided. It is necessary to be aware of the basic advantage of an arbitration and then assess the facts connected with its operation. In modern society, arbitration is widely acknowledged, applicable method of settling economic disputes, and that is not within one particular state, but also in the sphere of international commercial relations and trade. Many institutions are successfully functioning in India. Many US companies, many companies from abroad, they never used to prefer to come to India and invest because there was no arbitration provision. Even now, if some investment is not coming, they are agreeing only on a condition that you accept some other forum. Not in India. Arbitration not in India. They have to accept either Singapore, London, or some other third place. Because they don't have that kind of confidence. They feel that once arbitration is done, thereafter the courts may interfere. It is not the case, because now And I believe that they are also in very positive direction. They are working on it, relentlessly working on it. The number of disputes resolved in arbitration courts nowadays reaches almost thousands, lakhs. The accreditation process in new arbitration law is still unclear. That has to be cleared. Who are the people who will be accredited to the arbitral institutions are the arbitrators. Government interference still remains, and this is a major concern. And arbitration awards are frequently challenged in Indian courts. Judges heading these cases need to be trained in that positive directions. Some are trained, some are semi-trained, some are unaware. So it can't go on. More importantly, they must be trained to pick up the right kind of cases for referring to arbitration tribunals. However, there is no clarity on whether a civil court can refer a case for arbitration. Most of arbitral awards are challenged on the ground that they are against the public policy of India. When you yourself chose a policy and decide that there will be arbitration in such matters, you should not claim that. In that case, we have to get a proper provision, a proper mechanism where lawyers and our litigants, they also get a proper training. Sometimes in lack of proper legal assistance, our clients, they feel that they wrongly had put this arbitration clause, they should not have gone for it. There is no, I mean to say that there is no clear-cut definition of a public policy in a statute. The ground on which awards are challenged in India are confusing. And to say the least, there is lack of professionalism sometimes in general among judges and lawyers working in the arbitration sector of India. There is important. Suppose if we have to compete with international standards, then what should be done? Judges need to be sensitized. They should be trained. Similarly, lawyers, students. And then in the current scenario, the artificial intelligence, uniformity in, say, like any sentencing the cases, uniformity of deciding this civil matters, same facts, different courts, different judgments. It can't go on because that shakes the faith. Judges may give different punishment for same offense. They may decide differently in arbitrations, but the litigant should not lose, the client should not lose the faith, and they have to decide in the time-bound, phase manner. Otherwise, it will lose its pace and importance. It's really a great occasion when you all called me for speaking on this. You see, just like C2G cases, Government of India granted licenses to 2G companies. When they grant license to 2G company, 3G was in operation. Why they got this 2G? Because they wanted to go bid for 4G. In order to take 4G, there was a precondition that unless you have 2G license, you can't apply for 4G. So many of them applied for 2G. In that contract with Government of India, there was arbitration clause. Later, there was some PIL. Honorable Supreme Court of India asked CBI to investigate. Many of them were arrested. Where is the arbitration clause? The companies from abroad like Systema or Telenor who invested in India, considering the documents of President of India and with the provisions of arbitration, they had to file a plea that they are not the accused persons because they never obtained the license. They are simply, they enter into some agreements with the parties who got the license. Similarly, many other matters like co-allocation matters. I am not simply saying that the court should not exercise in the other branches. But if there is a provision of arbitration, first have the finding of fraud. First have the finding of a scam. Unless you have that kind of finding proceeding further in that direction, in my opinion and in my considered view, it is not appropriate. Because then corporates will not come. Then it's not a proper environment. Sending somebody to the prison is not a good idea. Anyway, I should not, and I am very positive person. I still feel that things are going to be positive. India is growing every day. The different kind of mechanism is being developed. Judges are being sensitive, and you see National Legal Services Authority, of which my Lord Justice Balakrishnan sir has also been the chairman, and then after becoming Chief Justice, in 3.5 years, it grew a lot in many high courts. Now we have paralegal workers. So all the students who are studying law, I request them and I expect from their faculty and the organizations like Amicus Curiae that we should train those students, those young lawyers, young teachers, professionals in the mediation and arbitration too. And give them option what you want, in which area you want to go. Because only selecting one option where you, that mediation, then you may not get that. Again, you select for only arbitration. That is also not a good idea. People are doing well, but there should be enough opportunities provided, because India is, how many mediators are there? Very less. Similarly, that are trained arbitrators, how many? We are forced to have Supreme Court judges, arbitrators, because they know at least law points, they understand contracts, they know litigation, and they understand what will be repercussions. But if someone else, some young lawyer, somebody else actually participate, they get trained, they make a good name, obviously, why not? They can be part of that. And gradually it's happening. I'm really thankful that you all invited me for this subject to talk to all of you. And I am really delighted to see Honorable Justice K.G. Balakrishnan sir. And he is always in happy mood. He always smiles. He always encourages us. And I had a plan to go and meet him and say thanks after my elections, but actually I could not go. So because of this second wave, sir. But anyway, your guidance and your support always have been immense for us. And keep, sir, you must we must do something in this area, arbitration and mediation. You see, Justice Ravindran is doing well, Justice Krishna is doing well, my Lord Justice Balakrishnan is doing great. We all, one day we should actually sit and decide that how mediation can be actually given a proper training for our young lawyers and members of Supreme Court Bar and some of the young students also. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to invite Sir Aruneshwar Gupta, who is also a senior advocate at Supreme Court, and he's working since 1976. He has been an additional advocate general for state of Rajasthan. For about 14 years, he has effectively represented various clients in Singapore and US in matters relating to power project and injury claims, drafted the Sports Act for state of Rajasthan, UP and Himachal Pradesh, which changed the cricket scene in India by bringing in IPL. And you all know how much we all love IPL. And he has certain specialities, he has certain specific fields in which he gathered a lot of knowledge, that is strategic consultant, expert in arbitration, constitutional law, contract law, criminal law, service and general civil. So now I would like to invite Sir to give us certain understanding of ADR and its importance. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Honorable Justice Balakrishnan, the former Chief Justice of India and former Chairman of the Human Rights Commission. Well, it's always a pleasure to be with Justice Balakrishnan, and I have proud remembrances of when I was the Vice President of the Advocate on Record Association way back in year 2099. That was when Justice Balakrishnan joined Supreme Court, and we had one of the first seminars where he spoke about the young lawyers' contribution to the litigation. And Pradeep has been a very fine person, and he is Secretary, Vice President of the Bar Association, and doing a great job during this hard times. Now, this topic of today is very interesting topic. In fact, I was very slightly confused when I got the topic, because it's alternate dispute resolution and the vanishing trail. Now, I was confused whether it is vanishing trail or it is vanishing trial. Because vanishing trial is a very interesting concept which has evolved in America, and I wish you people have a look at the documentary film on vanishing trials. Now the problem there is that large number of litigation, basically the criminal law, is not going into trial, but they are being settled by what they call the pre-bargaining. So there's a vanishing trail. But when I confirmed, I realized that this is ADR and the vanishing trail. So when we talk about trail, we talk of a path. And I think in the introduction made by the learned associate, there is some mix-up, because what is vanishing? Let us understand what is vanishing. The ADR is vanishing, or the existing trail is vanishing. So when we talk about the existing trail, there is an existing dispute resolution system. Now, this existing dispute resolution system came into being right from the days of the Rajas. And Pradeep had talked about Krishna as the first mediator in the Hindu mythology. But in fact, the Hindu mythology mediation goes back even much prior to that. And I'll just narrate that. And that was when the four putras of Brahma, Sadanand and three of his brothers, they were moving around and they wanted to go and meet Bhagwan Vishnu. And he was not allowed by the two Dwarpals, the Vijay and Vijay. And they were stopped. So they gave a sharp to Jay and Vijay and told them that you will be born as Rakshas in the next 3 Janmas. So they were born as Hindaksh and Hindakashyap, and then Ravan and Kumbhakaran, and then Kans and Shishupal in the next 3 Janmas. But then the problem came that somebody should arbitrate, because this was very, very wrong that since they were doing the duty. So Vishnu came himself, Lord Bhagwan Vishnu, and he said, no. You will be becoming a Rakshas, but then I'll come and help you out. But that was involvement of an arbitrator in the arbitration proceeding, which is not normal, because we are always looking for a neutral arbitrator. That is why when the whole process of dispute resolution started, the government or the Raja, because the disputes were normally at that point of time were between the parties. So whenever there was a dispute between the two parties, they would go to the Raja to resolve the dispute. That is how the original concept of the judiciary came in. So judiciary became a part, one of the 3 wings of the government, to resolve the disputes. Now, I'm not going into one factor which is very important here, which is very important for the young lawyers, which I see are here, is how does a dispute really comes into an existence? Because ultimately, every advocate, as an advocate, you are into a service industry. So you have to actually understand how the dispute comes into existence, because you are there to resolve or help the client to win the dispute. So unless you go into the details of the dispute itself, you will not be able to help the client to win the case or to resolve the dispute. So when coming to the fact that the government was given the power, so what does the government do? So government firstly acted as a neutral third party. Then the government provides the infrastructure. So right from Supreme Court to the trial court, every court is provided by the government. Secondly, the government appoints the judges. So right from the trial court till the Supreme Court judges, the appointments are made by the government. And it's not the appointment. The issue is that the salaries, their perks, and entire infrastructure support to the judiciary is given by the government. Thirdly, the government also lays down the procedure. So we have got the civil procedure code and we have got a criminal procedure code to deal with the dispute resolution mechanism. Now, these are the existing trails, the existing path by which a dispute is normally resolved. But then there are problems. Now, there are problems which arose. So right from the issue of when the formation of law came in, right from Magna Carta, so there is something around 1300. Till now, there are a lot of problems which came up in this regular trail of dispute resolution system. One was that firstly, that people were afraid for going to courts. Fundamentally, going to court is like going to a ICU or going to a surgery. So nobody likes to go to a court. And the reason is that in court, the rules and the procedures are very strict. So either you win a case or you lose a case. There's no middle way. So the courts have to go according to the law. And the law is what is either in the statute books or law is laid down by the courts themselves in various precedents over the years. And for last 600 years and right from when India became independent, the Indian Supreme Court has been laying down law. So in law, when the sword of law moves, it is very sharp. It cuts. It cuts you either way. So you can either win a case or you should lose a case. In large number of cases, though the courts try to come out with they don't answer the questions, but if they answer the questions correctly, there can be no way out. So in every case of when you go to a litigator, when you go for a litigation in a court, you are either winning the case or you're losing the case. And in that process, what happens is that the relationship between the parties is snap. So the winning party is joyous. The losing party is very, very uncomfortable. But there's one scene that is very, very clear that the relationship between the parties goes for a 6. Because the whole procedure, the whole procedure in a court procedure is very formal. It's not a very easy procedure because the rules of procedures are strictly laid down. The proceedings are cumbersome. Then what happened was that as slowly this whole court proceedings developed, there was a backlog and there was a huge amount of areas of pending cases. Today, we have got something like 3.6 crore cases pending in courts. So there were delays. Another factor was that the dates could not be fixed as a choice. The courts were giving dates, so you can get some cases heard early. You cannot get cases listed on a particular date. If the cases were listed on a particular date, they were not heard on a particular date because there was so much large number of cases which are pending. And this is something which is going to increase further and further and further as things go on. Then one of the major issues which came in courts was that there was lack of expertise. There was no expertise, particularly in large number of commercial disputes, the large number of contract disputes, like construction of a road or construction of airports or construction of ports, that there are large number of technical issues which are involved. And the amount of documents is huge. It's a voluminous document. So it is not very easy for the courts to deal with this volumes of documents. And that is basically at the trial court stage, they consume a lot of time. Then there were also issues of court fees. One of the major issues which were problem in all the litigation was that you have to pay ad valorem court fees. So if the court fees is about 1%, which is normally the court fees charged by almost all the courts, then for a case for say for the 100 crore case, you have to pay 1 crore of court fees. Now people don't have that much of money at the initial stage. Now they don't want to spend that money. So court fees was a major issue. There was a litigation in Supreme Court where they say, okay, there must be fixed court fees, which like the Bombay High Court was 75,000, but then they said, no, we are not going into the validity of the court fees. So even today, the court fees in all the litigations was very, very high. And that all these situations basically led to the people thinking what to do. Then came up a very interesting issue that 80% of the litigation today is by the government or it is against the government. So today the government has ceased to be a neutral party. Because though the judges are very independent, there's no issue about it. But again, if you see on the larger perspective, so where the common man's perception is concerned, that again, the judiciary is a part of the government. So that absolute neutrality is started lacking in the judicial system. Then therefore, now these are the various conditions which led to the development of what we call as a alternate dispute resolution system. So instead of government courts, what came into existence is what we call as the private courts. Now in the private courts, there were three types of private courts in fact evolved. And this is not new. This has been continuing for the last almost 200 years. So initially there were mediations, then there came to be conciliation, and then came to be the arbitrations. So mediation is like, normal, as you call it, the dadi ka nuska in the home. So there's a, initially you have a headache and you have a stomach ache. So you get that, tablets, and you take some haldi and you're fine. So this is like the mediation. People try to resolve the issues in-house. If you're not able to resolve in-house, then you go to resolve it to a third party. So we had a mediation with a third party coming up, and therefore we saw the coming up of panchayats. We saw the people coming up, like elderly people who will come up and resolve the issues between you. Okay, bhai, you do this and you do this, and let us resolve the issues. But then again, since that was not something which was established by law or something accepted by law, therefore the procedures came also for the conciliations and arbitrations. Conciliations were one of the major first thing which came was in the Industrial Dispute Act, section 18, where it talks of conciliation between the labor unions and the management. So they were awarded by the conciliators at a very initial stages in the statutory form, which are accepted by in the Industrial Disputes Act. The arbitrations, the rise of arbitration as an alternate dispute really came up as a commercial disputes. And this was majorly when the world opened up and globalization started. So major issues came up for disputes to be resolved through international, using the international forums. So these are the three basic forums of alternate dispute resolution. The major difference between these three is that in arbitration is not as formal as a court. But you have to have an arbitration clause if you want to go for an arbitration. But arbitration continues to have the same kind of procedure. So you have to have a claim, you have to file a reply, you have to file a rejoinder. Then in large number of cases, there are evidences, you have to file a formal evidence. There is a cross-examination. And let me tell you my experience of, but it all depends on the arbitrator. So since the arbitrator is free to, follow his own procedure. And let me tell you, one of the retired judges of Supreme Court where I appeared in an arbitration, we filed our claim, the other side filed the other side filed the claim, and we filed our counter claim. And he said, okay, next week we start the arguments. And he made it very clear that every document filed by the parties till the last date of hearing, if it is not taken to be forged by the other party or not objected to be other party, is accepted as a document. And we finished our hearings within next 4 days of time, and we had an award in next 10 days. So it's very simple, but it looks simple if it is made simple. If the judges, if the arbitrators and the lawyers who have their, now the problem today which is coming is that there's a huge amount of per day hearing for the arbitrators and per day hearing for the lawyers. So in those cases, there's a pie in the cake. And therefore the arbitration goes continuously and continuously and continuously. One of the major issues why arbitration not resolved is the fees structures of both arbitrators and the lawyers. The government has put a curb in the new Arbitration Act, and they say, okay, this is the maximum amount of arbitration, this is a maximum amount of fees that you can take, but lawyers still continue to have, and then the court and the best lawyers are the same who are appearing in the courts and who are appearing in the arbitration. So arbitration basically has the same problem which the courts are having it. Secondly, the conciliations are very rarely done, but conciliations are something where you don't have an arbitration clause, and you can resolve the problem by coming to a conciliatory award. I am a great votary of mediators, and let me tell you, this is something which I would like you to be associated with and see that this whole idea comes up. So there is a mediation is where you can come up with absolutely no formal, not at all, talking to the clients, talking to the lawyers, see that the clients talk to each other, and then come out with a solution. So though there's a training course, as Pradeep also talked, and he talked about, we can have large number of mediation, but the major problem in a mediator is he has to have a very, very mature mind. I have a lot of interns, I have a lot of associates and interns working with me, And I realized when they were dealing with matrimonial cases or some difficult criminal cases, they themselves got involved into it. So you have to have a lot of emotional maturity. You have to have a lot of deep social understanding. You have to deep personal understanding into the issues before you start becoming a mediator. And I think this is a very, very good job if everybody can, if you have that mind or you have an orientation, because you have to have a multiple way of looking at things. It is not just you have to think the thing from one end or the second end, but there has to be a third end and there has to be a fourth way. So there are multiple way of looking of it. And every action, and let me tell you very clearly that every dispute which is not criminal or it is an election dispute, it can all be resolved through mediations. There are construction disputes which people are largely going for mediation now. There are real estate disputes. There are personal disputes relating to succession and matrimonial, like maintenance, child custody, terms of a divorce. These all can be very clearly and very amicably resolved through mediation. Motor vehicles accident, trading disputes. And I tell you, very interesting, there were 3 presidents of the world who got Nobel Prize for resolving or for mediating between 2 countries. And they resolved those disputes that were pending for decades and finally would have certainly ended into a war. So they avoided. First was Roosevelt. He got a Nobel Prize for that. So let me tell you, friends, I am very clear, and basically in the situation today, because at the end of the day, I always say that the constitutional goal is not to have a casteless society. The constitutional goal is not to have a classless society, but the constitutional goal is to have a conflict-free society. And this conflict-free can only come if we are able to resolve our disputes amicably, and we don't break our relationships if we have a dispute and if we are able to resolve the dispute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we have our former Chief Justice, Honorable K.G. Balakrishnan, sir. He has been our Chief Justice for almost 3.5 years, from 2007 to 2010, and he, during his tenure, has given certain landmark decisions, being part of certain division benches, like the midday meal was made mandatory while he was at the bench. Secondly, he declared the forcible narco polygraphic test and brain mapping test unconstitutional while being at the division bench. He has participated in various international seminars and delivered thought-provoking lectures in universities regarding human rights. He was awarded honorary doctorate by several universities, including Kurukshetra University, University of Gulbarga, University of Kerala, University of Bangalore, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, and he was also awarded first Sri B.K. Krishna Menon Award for his fight against corruption in the judicial system and for espousing social causes. He is a member of Lincoln's Inn, England, and further on June 7th, 2010, he was made the chairman of National Human Rights Commission. As the harbinger of the commission, he has committed himself to the cause of protection and promotion of human rights, and as missionary, he called upon the media also to play an important role, not only to surface the cases of human rights violation, but also generate the awareness for the same. So now I would like Sir to take over and enlighten us.
Thank you, Anika. For distinguished panelists, Mr. Aneshwar Gupta and Mr. Pradeep, both of them have exhaustively discussed about the arbitration, mediation, and conciliation. But because of the pandemic situation, the courts are not functioning for a long period. For 1 year, practically the subordinate courts in most of the states are not very effectively functioning. Even if it was fully functioning, there would be pendency of large number of cases. Now, after this pandemic period is over, I'm afraid our judicial system will crumble down because of the heaviness of the large number of cases. That is, this arbitration, mediation, and conciliation is one method by which a court should persuade the parties to resort to the arbitration and conciliation. That is not very easy, as we say. There are provisions included in the CPC, Section 89, and also Order 10 of the CPC. The arbitration, the conciliation, and judicial settlement of matters could be resorted to by the court. Court should be very selective. All cases cannot be referred to the arbitration. There are cases which the dispute between the parties are slender dispute between the parties. But because the nature of the dispute, it may take longer period. So the court must persuade the parties for a settlement. Earlier, when in 70s or 68, 65 period, when the court asked the party to go for settlement, they attribute motive to the court. But now there is provision in the CPC that the court, we can persuade the parties for arbitration, mediation, and conciliation. And after the admission and denials by the parties, the court must ask whether you are prepared for arbitration or mediation. If you are prepared for mediation, and it should be referred to a mediation party. Mediation, there should be a mediator, and it is for the mediator to then deal with the matter further. But unfortunately, in the courts associated, there are no mediators available in and around the functioning of the courts. Of course, in Bangalore, there was a mediation center which was functioning well when about 15 years back, 10 years back, it was functioning well. I don't know whether it is functioning now very well. There are cases that refer to mediation. Some of the senior lawyers were appointed as the mediators. They settled the matter amicably and decided the matter. Most of the property dispute between them and their relatives, friends, and all, the certain types of cases could be easily mediated. So, but in all our courts, we should ask, Mr. Pradeep and Mr. Gupta suggested, we should have a sort of training program for creating a batch of mediators who should be either young lawyers or sufficiently senior lawyers should guide them. In all courts attached to the court, in almost all the places, especially in district courts, civil courts are in a civil court complex. Most of the states, there are civil court complex. There, at least a fairly good number of lawyers, young, talented lawyers should be trained how to settle the matters amicably to the satisfaction of the parties, to the best of their ability. They should be persuaded to accept a mediation. Then only we would be able to at least unload the large arrears of cases from the shoulders of the judicial system. That is very important, and I feel that all the high courts should take up that initiative. Then only it will work. It is permissible under the larger, of course, the larger issues which are coming under the Arbitration Act, which is running to several contracts entered into by the state or the public corporations or the state agencies or instrumentality of the state entered into contracts, and contracts, the execution of the work become problematic, or even after the work is over, the dispute between the parties not settled, and there is already an arbitration clause when the contract was entered into, between the private parties and the state or the instrumentality of the state. Then on the basis of that, there could be arbitration. Then the parties can go to the court and file application for appointment of arbitration. There the experts are appointed by the court, and that too, it is in some of the agreements, there is the place of arbitration itself is outside India, so it becomes international arbitration. So the international arbitration, then it is for the Supreme Court to appoint the arbitrators. Then it is to be settled by, at the instance of these arbitrators appointed, either 2 or 3 arbitrators or single arbitrators, the matter will be resolved. The Delhi, there is arbitration, the Delhi Arbitration Center is there, Delhi High Court. But in all the High Courts, there is no such arbitration center is there. But Delhi, Bombay, Ahmedabad, Calcutta, and all, to some extent Chennai also, there are commercial litigation. In places where there are commercial litigation, there should be sufficient opportunity for the parties to resort to arbitration, and the court should refer. And under the supervision of the court, the arbitration can be considered, the arbitrators can work, and the parties can settle the issues through arbitration. That also should be cultivated. These are all the very, very important issues which should be considered by the High Court. The Chief Justice of the High Court should take initiative to do the work. Otherwise, the people the whole judicial system will take years for a settlement. Even now, the people are afraid to go to court because they say that it takes years to go for a settlement. So they resort to other methods of settlement, or sometimes violent methods also they resort to. We cannot tolerate in a society. For the peaceful existence of the citizens of the country, there should be a good judicial system. Good judicial system, those who are aggrieved by the conduct of the other party should have a reasonable resolution through a mechanism, a judicial mechanism, or that is the people urge for, and the system should be able to provide it. These are all the arbitration, conciliation, mediation, all we intend to do. But some of the arbitration, there are large number of contracts entered into by the National Highway Authority, ONGC, and other various public sector undertakings. Now they are settled by arbitrations, but that too takes time because the voluminous documents are produced, some witnesses are examined, so they take time, and the sittings, several sittings are taken for arbitration in the hearing. But of course, the arbitration award cannot be easily challenged in the courts. It must be violation of the natural justice, violation morally, ethically against the law of India, or some tenable grounds were there should be to set aside the award. So finality, but even then the people resort to, even after the arbitration award is passed, it is being challenged in the courts, and it takes time, and the money, the award is not implemented so easily. There are so many things to be discussed in these, though it is mediation and conciliation is simple thing, but when we approach the problem, all these factors surround us, and we have to be very, very careful in approaching and dealing with this system. The provisions contained in the CPC should be resorted to. Even in the Criminal Procedure Code, I say plea bargaining provision is include the plea bargaining. But who is resorting to plea bargaining? Nobody is, to my knowledge, Nobody is resorting to plea bargaining. So also the arbitration conciliation, also this was this section 89 was implemented, inserted long back. It was by Act 99 with effect of 1/7/2002. The section 89 was came into force. Then the part the order 10 also came into force long back. That is, but even then it is not being resorted to by the parties because the system is not very effectively working. The judicial officers should be trained. Judicial officers should be asked to train arbitrators. That also is necessary. That is the act by in 99 this was the some of the provision 1/7/2002 the provisions came into force for arbitration mediation, and there is a detailed procedure also is described in CPC. But to my knowledge, even matrimonial issues are not settled properly by the family court. So it is difficult to find a reasonable solution for all these problems unless a whole judicial system is revamped, and that should be the presiding officer, judges should work hard, the lawyers fraternity also should cooperate with them, and then only we can be proud of our judicial system. If only judicial system is working well, our economic progress will be there. If there is a delayed justice, that means the whole thing is delayed. Our process of progress is shattered by the absence of a proper judicial system. So these are all very, very important matters, though we don't really understand what are the after effect of these things. If there is corruption, there is a problem for progress. If there is absence of the speedy litigation, if there is a progress there is a retardation in the progress in the society. So we have to work hard. I am glad that the young lawyers are thinking of these things, and such a sort of motivation should be inculcated among the young lawyers. Then they will the judicial officers also should be given proper training. That is more important. Then they can inspire the lawyers, and they will come around. This sort of the further discussion should be done. It should be continued, and the people like Mr. Pradeep is the vice president of the lawyers at Supreme Court Bar Association, very active lawyer. So he will they will help you to further they do in these sort of matters. Mr. Shavneshwar Gupta is all along he has been very active, not only in the profession but in all activities. We had occasion to travel together to even to other places and whole conference and all. So it is very in this pandemic situation. This meeting give an opportunity to interact with them. Thank you very much for creating this platform.
Thank you, sir. There are some questions in the chat box. Can I proceed with those?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So first question was a student was asking that after completing the LLB degree, how can they proceed their career with ADR?
After completing the LLB, naturally, the candidate should start in the practice, whether suddenly practice in the under various field, so that will help you. And when one enters the profession, you need not think of arbitration at this stage. The channel will open after when you start practicing after some time. Then you can choose the line.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I may only add here to what Justice Balakrishna has said. Ultimately, ADR is also an alternate dispute resolution system. So you have to have a grip on the subject. Ultimately, either you have to have a contract law, or it is a matrimonial dispute, or it is a construction dispute. So whatever it is, end of the day, unless you have a hang on the subject,
Then nothing can
you can't work.
You can't do anything.
So you have to have a, say like construction contract. So you first have to understand the contract law. It is substantive law and procedural law are two totally different. So ADR is another procedural law. But end of the day, the only distinction is that you're not strictly going in ADR, in like mediation, you're not going strictly by law. So you may come out with some solutions. Like they tried to do mediation in the Ayodhya. So they're trying to come out with some solution. But if it doesn't work, then you have to have a litigation answer. So anybody, everybody who is doing law, he can't jump into ADR. That's what Justice Balakrishna very clearly said. You have to have a hang on the litigation. You have to understand how the whole procedure exists. And after maturing up, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then you can shift your practice, because there's a very, very serious requirement of an arbitration bar, of a mediation bar. In fact, one of the major problem of failure of arbitration is the same bar which is working there also.
Yes.
That's my short addition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, Pradeep sir, would you like to add something?
Any specific question, or you just want to?
On this issue of arbitration being a career option after degree of LLB.
Yes, obviously, this career option is there. Many countries, many bar councils and associations abroad, they have introduced this as one of the key course in the syllabus. Post-graduation courses are going on. First of all, education in regard to mediation and arbitration with special psychological training, you say, that not for the arbitration, but for mediation it requires that at least you understand the psyche of both the sides while you are mediating. At the same time, the proper training arrangements. And as far as Aneshwarji suggested that there should be separate bar for mediation and arbitration, and that is one of the reasons of not succeeding it. Sometimes I also feel that when a mediation is going on in Supreme Court, there are several complaints that come to us, and they say that members of the Supreme Court bar do not allow us to get some work. So I said, but what is the reason? They suggest that reason is that they are actually from this bar, and if the mediation is work is being distributed, they claim the first right. So all kind of things are there, but in my opinion, first of all, you should know the law. All the students, they must have the grasp of the subject, and thereafter they should have a proper training, and for that a proper mechanism, institute and training program should be there. I requested even for the judicial training programs where the judges are getting trained. Obviously, some of the lawyers, because we are also part of the same chariot, some of the lawyers may also get the same training, and by that they can keep themselves updated.
Thank you. So another question that was in the chat box is, in arbitration clauses, generally the arbitrator is the departmental officer. So how a lawyer can act as an arbitrator?
Yes, lawyers are obviously, they get a chance. Nowadays, anybody can get themselves registered. Bureaucrats are there, technical members are there, judicial members are there, many lawyers are there. So nowadays, in any kind of arbitration, you need a proper empanelment, and you should have that kind of category where you qualify at least the minimum norm. So there are many lawyers who are part of the arbitration. It's not that the party has to have trust in you. If they don't have trust, they nominate you, or the court nominates you. So we have seen, even we have recently heard that for the mediation of Ayodhya temple, Justice Bobde wanted to appoint Shah Rukh Khan. So that degree was also not very important. So, so if the judges think that you are qualified,
Anika,
they
I
can
may add
appoint.
here, just for addition,
Yes, sir.
that there's a very serious issue because this is clause 29 in all the CPWD acts. And there's a very serious move. And I think there's already amendment coming up, already done, that the government, in all the government contracts, the appointment made by the government will not be there. There has to be an independent third party.
Yes, sir.
So that issue, I think, is already resolved to a very large extent, because ultimately you need a neutral third party. And this whole idea of arbitration, the ADR is that you have to, the whole judicial process is that you have to have a neutral third party. You can't have arbitrators appointed by the government, like all the public sector undertakings, basically.
Her question was that how lawyers can be arbitrators.
No, the question was that when the government
How
employees
lawyers can act? Actually, that was a question
so
from.
once they people go, then you have a lot of opportunity to become arbitrators.
Yes, sir. So it was a question from some lawyer itself. He has also joined, and he is, I think, so currently practicing in labor law or something. So that's why I put up that question. So another question that we could find here is, if any one party ignores the arbitration agreement and commences court proceedings, so what is the resort to that?
Please come again. If party ignores arbitral proceedings,
And come
You
back to
can't.
the court proceedings.
Immediately you have to file an application to the court and say that there's an arbitration. So the court will refer the matter to arbitration. It's so simple.
Thank you, sir. So one more question. As we have bar exam for advocate, so should we have?
You must put it to Justice Balakrishnan now. We are,
Yes,
as
sir.
lawyers, we are used to interfering too much.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. So my question was, as we have bar exam for advocates, so should we have such exams for arbitrators and mediators as well?
The exam is not necessary. Exam is, this is a sort of specialized training is required. That is for which an examination and all the competition and all not required. We have to find out the talented people. That is more important. Not that any arbitrator should be conversant with the law of contract, law of basic ideas, law of evidence, law of pleadings, all these basic things, basic law, he should be aware. Then it is only a question of the knack of settlement of problems, human problems. He should have a great amount of common sense, great dedication, talent for settlement, persuade the both sides to come to a sort of the mediate, a sort of arrangement by which and impress upon them that both will be benefited by this settlement, or waiting, instead of waiting for a long settlement at the instance of the court. These are all basic things which the youngster should be. No examination is required. So it is only a training program by at the instance of senior members of the bar or experienced people.
Thank you, sir. Pradeep sir and Neshwar sir, would you like to add something to this point?
No, I think there's nothing more.
you want a verdict after CJI has delivered the judgment?
No, sir, I just need an opinion on this one. Okay, sir. So the next question is the role played by the legal service authorities at district, state and national level in propagating the idea of mediation and lok adalats.
Again, you have to ask Honorable Sir, because he has been chairman of National
Okay.
Legal
Legal
Service.
Service Authority.
Let me edit before Justice Balakrishnan, because then I'll have nothing to say.
Yes,
my
sir.
view is that these, the legal authorities should be managed by the courts, but they should keep or bring in the private or the other people into the system. You see, they should not run the system by their own people. You see, like typically, let's take an arbitration run by the Delhi High Court. or run by the Supreme Court, or mediation office run by the Supreme Court or Delhi High Court. Now, they have only those people who are empaneled with them. So we, on one side, we are talking of institutional arbitration, we are talking of institutional mediation. And on the other side, we are killing the same concept by only having mediations and arbitration through those who are appointed by the courts. So in fact, it is the extension of the arm of the court itself, which has now become the arbitrators or mediators. So therefore, my thinking is that this legal authority should work as people to provide the regulatory mechanism, but the people who are manning them, they should come up like 500 people. If Pradeep Rai is successful and we get 500 mediators who are now certified by the Supreme Court, 40 hours sessions, then they should all have an opportunity to work as mediators. Now that won't be possible if they are confined to Supreme Court mediation cell, because not everybody will not be on the panel of the Supreme Court mediation cell. That's my idea.
Thank you,
Sir.
sir.
Justice Balakrishnan.
Legal Service Authority has got so much of work because now it is spread over the High Court, the District Court, subordinate courts, all. And the Supreme Court Legal Service Authority, if they intend to do the work efficiently, they may have got a lot of work. So I don't think that the mediation also, they can carry that burden. That is because the legal service, they propagate the legal services and help the people, help the victims and all. So many things are encapsulated in that Legal Service Authorities Act. So it is better we should have that. That would be more effective rather than done at the instance of Legal Service Authority.
Thank you, sir. So another question is, there is a very fine line between mediation and conciliation. So can you just elucidate what exactly the difference between both of that?
There is not much difference between mediation and conciliation. Conciliation is a little more involvement of the mediator and discuss with them, argue with them, and conciliate, come to the point and this sort of conciliation and all. Mediation is the dispute between the parties. The dispute may be on a narrow point, so you give your suggestions and mediate and settle the issues. That there is, these are all expressions made by the English people. The nuances may change. We cannot fine-tune these things.
Okay, I will just add to what Justice Balakrishnan has said.
Yes, sir.
That conciliation is, in fact, is a recognized under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996. Why mediation is still not recognized? So every award made by a conciliator.
I am in a conference. I will call you after 10 minutes.
So in fact, part 3 of the 1996 Act deals with the conciliation. So any award made by a conciliator is automatically recognized. Now, mediation can be of two types. Either it can be a pre-litigating mediation or it will be a post-litigating mediation. So if it is a pre-litigating mediation, then you have to, it's like a settlement between the parties, and the only way out is to make a notarized or a registered settlement deed. If it is a post-mediation, then in that case, the mediation award goes to the court and the court can convert into a decree.
Oh, thank you, sir. Sir, I could not find any more questions in the chat box. So we are here towards the end of this session. So I would like to invite Sir Rupu Banerjee, who is the founder of this entire organization, Amicus Curie, to present a vote of thanks to all of you for such a beautiful session.
Am I audible, Anika?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Anika, for this opportunity. Now going forward with the thank you note. The Amicus Curie family is really obliged to have such learned people like you all here with us. And I would like to thank you all for investing your valuable time with the budding lawyers and the professional of law field. And also I'd like to thank all of you for sparing all your time from this busy schedule and enlightening the law students on such an important topic, ADR and the vanishing trails. We really feel honored to get such an in-depth understanding of the topic from all your experiences and thoughtful ideas.
तो निकल रहे हैं हम, छोड़ देंगे।
Last but not the least, I'd like to thank the entire team of the Amicus Curie for pulling up this final first virtual national conference in a successful manner. We hope to have more such session with you all of the speaker in the near future, and to thank all the panelists once again for their time today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Great
Thank you.
pleasure being with you and seeing you again. Thanks, Pradeep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.